emergency services. I'm sure some of you have called EMS before and have waited in high anticipation for EMS to arrive. What would you do if they never did? Detroit EMS is an integral aspect of Detroit city services and provide many invaluable services to Detroit, such as life-saving skills, medical transportation, and emergency first aid services. I performed extensive research on this subject. I've also been a licensed paramedic for 3 years now, working for many ambulance companies. EMS in Detroit is needing to be direly restructured because they are facing issues in regards to treating their patients. First, I would like to discuss the issues EMS is facing in regards to their equipment failure. Second, I would like to discuss poor response times and being understaffed. Lastly, I'd like to discuss how EMS is requiring more resources in order to better properly serve the citizens of Detroit. Let's discuss some of the issues the EMS are facing with their equipment. EMS is having multiple issues with equipment failure, specifically encountering issues with their new vehicles. According to information on Click on Detroit, access July 5th, 2014, new EMS rigs are unable to perform the duration required for them in a service, leading to equipment failure. This is a huge issue in regards to that, solely due to the fact that these vehicles are required for paramedics to assist and bring patients to and from calls. According to governmentfleet.com, last accessed July 5th, 2014, some of the EMS vehicles have anywhere between 250 and 300,000 miles. Although those vehicles have diesel engines, this is still super high mileage, and it's not even the engine components we need to be worried about at this point. It's the overall wear and tear on the vehicle, leading ultimately to equipment failure. EMS is facing other equipment issues in regards to GPS and communication equipment. According to DetroitNews.com, access July 5th, 2014, ambulances have suffered communication equipment failure, leading to the inability to respond to emergencies from not receiving the call from dispatch. If the paramedics can't receive the call from dispatch, the paramedics can't come to the scene of the call. They are unaware of the emergency and won't respond. DetroitNews.com stated EMS have crews that have issues responding to emergencies due to not being able to locate their patients. This is because a lot of these ambulances don't have the standard GPS equipment that's required, and many ambulance services now have. Let's discuss some of the contingencies that patients have faced as a result of poor response times and equipment failure. Here are some examples of patients that have lost their lives due to equipment failure. Elderly women did not receive timely assistance due to the navigation equipment in the ambulance failing. Dispatch did not know the location of the ambulance crew that was on standby and couldn't reroute the call. Therefore, that elderly woman unfortunately passed away. According to DetroitNews.com, access July 5th, 2014, a 3-week-old girl passed away when she was mauled by a dog. The ambulance broke down en route to the hospital, and that girl did ultimately lose her life. This is according to myfoxdetroit.com, access July 5th, 2014. Equipment failure is no excuse for citizens to lose their lives, especially innocents such as children and the elderly. Here are some issues regarding poor response times and the effects that they in fact had on patients. A woman had a massive cardiac arrest, and the ambulance was 20 minutes late in response to her medical emergency from the time of call. She passed away, as reported by DetroitNews.com. Last access July 5th, 2014. A man passed away at a dialysis clinic from a major heart attack when EMS crews were 30 minutes late on scene. The paramedic that went on scene later found out that this man, in fact, was that paramedic's uncle. This was last accessed July 5th, 2014, from myfoxdetroit as well.com. If paramedics were able to respond in a timely manner, many of these patients would probably still be alive today. Let's discuss the importance of why EMS is needing this equipment. EMS is requiring proper staffing and proper functioning equipment in order to properly serve the citizens of Detroit. According to the information access, July 5th, 2014, from myfoxdetroit, the union president did in fact apologize for poor response times. This was solely due to the fact that the department was severely understaffed. He stated that there were 7 to 10 ambulances running full-time around the clock, 12-hour shift in the city. Additional information from the same site, My Fox Detroit, stated that the union president did further apologize say that they are running as many as 23 calls in 12 hours. Some of these calls are anywhere between 30 minutes to 3 hours long. This overuse of staff and equipment is surely a recipe for disaster. EMS is requiring a larger budget and more staff to properly be able to serve Detroit. According to the information received from Detroit News, July 5th, 2014, it was determined that the Detroit Fire Department in fact did receive a massive sum of $175 million. Taking some of this budget and giving it to EMS would in fact definitely enable them to hire more employees and have better functioning equipment. Detroit is currently offering an incentive to paramedics in Detroit to attract them into Detroit for employment. This is known as Project 14. Project 14 essentially is a program that enables paramedics to buy a house for as little as $1,000 down. Later on, as the months progress, they can begin paying monthly mortgage payments anywhere between $500 to $1,000 a month, making it highly affordable for them to afford a quality home. This information was obtained from abcnews.com on July 5th, 2014. Let's review some of the highlights that I discussed today. First, I explained how Detroit EMS have faced poor equipment failure and the results of that. Secondly, I discussed the issues in regards to them having high call volume and being understaffed. Lastly, I discussed the issues that Detroit is having and why they're in need of funding and staffing in order to properly provide proper services for the city of Detroit. At the end of the day, you never know when you're going to need EMS. And it is my deepest hope that you truly never do. But my question for you is, are you in good hands?